Welcome back. The mystery of MH370, missing now for more than 40 days. The world is still watching and trying to make sense of what happened to the plane and its 239 passengers and crew. The working scenario investigators are following is this, that the Boeing 777, while en route from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to Beijing, China, changed course mid-flight, then crashed in the southern Indian Ocean. Pinning hopes on signals that experts think may have come from the plane's black boxes, an international joint search team is focusing on an area of about 58,000 square kilometers. It's hoped use of an unmanned submarine will help. The Bluefin 21 drone finished its first full mission on Thursday, and the team is mapping out the ocean floor of that area from the data collected. Meanwhile, air and sea surface search efforts are still ongoing. Joining me now to talk more about the search effort are aviation expert Michael Boyd and Kerry Walsh from Global Diving and Salvage. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you to The Heat. Michael Boyd, let me start with you. The search has been going on for more than a month right now. No debris has been found. Is there a possibility that this plane hit the water and sank intact?
Probably not, but in 40 days of floating in the water, a lot of stuff would have gone underwater. So it's possible, but we're so unsure about all the facts of this, and more stories come out. So yeah, there's a very good possibility it could have broken up when it hit the water, if it did hit the water, but after 40 days, a lot of debris can sink.
Kerry, do you believe that the search teams are looking in the right place? They seem to have put all their assets, all their hopes on this area that they're looking at, this area that I talked about, the 58,000 square kilometers. I mean, I heard one French underwater expert say that if there's no debris, then they're looking in the wrong place. But do you believe they're looking in the right place?
I think that based on all the news that I watch, and I'm watching the same news everybody else is, I think that they have done as much detective work as they possibly can, putting forth an effort to try to pin down the area. I would agree that the lack of floating debris is a real concern, because had the vessel hit the surface, you would surely expect to see floating things like seat cushions, and the lack of any of that debris at all is a concern that would point to it maybe not hitting the ocean. But given all the evidence that they have with cell phone tracking, with radar trackings that they've been able to obtain, and the pingers that they've heard on the seafloor, I suspect that they're in the best location given the evidence. I would, unless somebody had something different to show.
Right,
I would
Michael,
agree with it that they are.
Okay, Michael Boyd, you know, there appears to be so much mystery surrounding the disappearance of this plane. Many people have been asking why a modern plane like this Boeing 777 was not equipped with, say, GPS or cameras in the cockpit so we could see what was going on. And, I mean, would such equipment have helped us, facilitated the search and rescue efforts?
Yeah, if we had a constant system that maintained surveillance over where an airplane is at all times. We've never needed it before. I think in the future we'll have those sorts of things, but cameras in the cockpit and whatnot, let's remember the cockpit voice recorder records over itself after 2 hours, so the initial event, that's a problem. The second thing is we get different stories where the airplane turned and then turned again, and then might have gone to 12,000 feet, then to 40,000 feet. All those things would affect how far that airplane could fly south if it was flying south. So they're making the best with what they can, but almost every day another little tidbit is dribbled out about how it got to where it was. So I'm not certain we know really what did happen or where that airplane really did hit the water.
Okay, Michael, just talk to us about the data stream that we're hearing about, that there is equipment which is available right now, which would basically send a constant stream of data back to a base on the ground, so that ultimately, you know, we wouldn't have to look for the black box, because that information would be already stored somewhere on the ground.
Well, yeah, where to look, it would be. But up till now, how many airplanes have we lost in the last 30 years? We had Air France, and we have this one. So the idea of saying we have to be able to keep track of all airplanes at all times, up until now, that really wasn't, and there was no incentive to do that. I think going forward in 5 years, or even less time, we'll have some system in place, probably a rudimentary system, that's all we need, that will be able to track where an airplane is at any one given point in time, and not much more than that.
Kerry, you know, scientists are not joking when they say that we know better the shape of Mars than we know the surface of the Earth, especially under the ocean, deep down there. What are the major challenges right now, even if the black box is found, if other equipment's found? I mean, how difficult is it going to be to retrieve that?
Well, you know, let's put it in the context of finding the debris. If the AUV located areas of interest, they went back over those areas and they located physical debris that they could identify on the sonar, they would go back with a better high-resolution sonar called a multi-beam sonar that would make multiple passes over the debris and create generally an almost three-dimensional view of what they saw. Based on that image that they saw in the spread or the pile of the debris, you know, the dispersion of it, they would go back and formulate a plan. It would probably involve lowering a remote operated vehicle, which we've seen a lot of, by lowering that down from a ship on the surface 3 miles down to the bottom of the ocean. It would go down on a weight with a big clump weight that would be on the bottom of a tether that would lower the ROV down to above the area of interest, above the wreckage, and the ROV would have about 200, 300 feet of umbilical that it could use to swim around the debris. One of the big challenges for the ROV is going to be management of that umbilical. It's basically the cord that connects it to the surface, providing power, providing all the signals, all the control ability for the operators up on the surface. If anything happens to damage that on the bottom, it can create a real problem, especially if it gets severed. And let's think about what is an airplane debris going to look like. It's going to be shredded aluminum with lots of sharp edges. So tether management is going to be a very key factor in doing any kind of work. That means it's going to be slow, methodical, and well thought out every move that they make to go to the wreckage. So now we look at where are the black boxes? Are they under debris? Do we need to move debris above the black box location? Or are they right on top? Can we open the thing with a couple of our portable tools on an ROV? You know, those decisions and that planning process will happen and evolve as we see the situation and it develops in front of us.
And what kind of depths are we talking about here?
We're talking 3 miles at the location that they're working right now.
Oh,
And an ROV in 3 miles is going to take about 3 hours to get to the seafloor, and if something happens, it's going to take about 3 hours to get back to the surface.
okay, Michael Boyd, we've been hearing a lot about these pings that have come out that sonar devices have been hearing in the ocean. It's been detected, I think, about 5 times so far. Why is it so difficult to find the source of these pings?
Well, they have to triangulate it. They have a ping, but it's not like sonar necessarily where they can triangulate exactly where it is. And the question I have is, you know, it's like we just brought up. There was nothing floating on the surface immediately afterwards. And you're right, life rafts, things like that, seats would have been up there. So I don't know where those pings were coming from, but we know this. You know, it wasn't flipper, it wasn't a whale. What was making those pings probably was mechanical. And that's the only reason I would buy into the argument that this airplane went in that direction and went down there, because there's not much that can make those pings. But I think as of today, we're not going to hear any more pings, and it's going to be other methodologies, if we can, to find that airplane. So we can forget the pings.
Right, and it was of a constant frequency as well. Michael Boyd, Kerry, Walsh, thanks for joining us.